Hey everybody, welcome to our kitchen. Today I'm going to walk through the steps of making an artisan craft bread, basic simple white using only 4 ingredients. I know that this has kind of been a popular thing floating around the internet, and I have my own method of making it, and I'm glad you're able to join me today while I put this together. So it's easy as can be, so just follow along and I'll walk you through, and you yourself will be able to come up with a beautiful loaf of artisan bread in the end. So how we're going to start is we're going to start with an all-purpose flour. I do use a Sir Galahad's unbleached flour here, and you're going to need 3 cups of that. And we're just going to put everything in one bowl. All of this recipe will be one dish. And in the end, we will transfer it to a Dutch oven and make it in a Dutch oven in our oven. So first we're going to start out with 3 cups, which I've pre-measured. Just add that to your bowl. You also need a quick rise yeast, an instant yeast. I use this one. It's always been a really good, shown good results for me. This is the Red Star. And we need 2 teaspoons, which I've pre-measured in here, and add that to your mix. Now, we also need salt, but I never like to add salt straight in touch with my yeast. So we're gonna just mix the yeast in with the flour real quick so that the salt does not touch directly to our yeast. Now, we do need a kosher salt. Please do not use cooking salt. It doesn't give the greatest results. We do use a non-cooking or a kosher salt for this, and you're going to need 2 teaspoons of that as well. Once you get that nicely mixed into your flour, what you need is you're going to need 1.5 cups of very warm tap water. So we don't want to go too hot with our tap water. We want to keep it about roughly 55 Celsius or 130 degrees Fahrenheit, no hotter, because it will kill the yeast and your effect will not be good. Your bread won't rise. So let me grab some hot water real quick and we'll add that. And like I said, we're going with 1.5 cups of very warm tap water. So I kind of know the feeling of what the water should feel like, but if you do need to use a kitchen temperature or kitchen thermometer gauge, please go ahead and do that. Now you're going to add that water straight into your mixture, and using, I recommend a wooden paddle, mix your flour, salt, and yeast together, and you're going to get a very sticky looking dough, and you want it to look like this. Now this is a no-knead bread dough, and you want to make sure that you get all your flour underneath, and it's going to look very scrappy like this, kind of sticky, kind of, you don't want it to look like too dry. You're going to want it to look sticky and scrappy like it does. So this is exactly the way we want to see our bread dough. So at this point, I do use my fingers just to kind of work all that flour in. And then what we're going to want to do is leave the dough at the bottom of your bowl like this. Now, once you have your dough first made, what we're going to do is we're going to cover it with plastic wrap and get something to cover it with that can be airtight. Now, if you don't have plastic wrap, that's fine. You can use a plate. You can use a towel. But what you want to do is you want to try to create a no air type of environment. And then you will take this and set it in the warmest place of your kitchen and let it rise. And what we are looking for is for this dough to rise at least double in size. So when we come back, we should see a nice bubbly dough That's twice as much as the dough we see in here. So I'll check back in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Okay, so to achieve the best artisan bread and the baking process, I use a cast iron Dutch oven, which I should have here. Mine is a little beat up because I use it so much. But what you'll want to get is a, you know, this is about a 4 to 5 quart, maybe a little more, Dutch oven, and it is cast iron. And you're going to want to put this with the lid on in a preheated oven, 450 degrees. You can even set it in the oven as it preheats, and you're going to want to let this sit in the oven at that high heat about 20 to 30 minutes prior to putting your bread in here. Okay, so as you can see here, we have doubled, or a little more than doubled, our amount of dough that has risen from our original beginning of the recipe. And what you're going to want to do is set this to the side, and you're going to want to take a little bit of flour, and you're going to want to dust flour on your surface. And then what you'll want to do is take your dough and see the bubbling and the tackiness of the dough, and you're going to want to put this sticky ball on the floured surface. So once you get it on your floured surface, what you're going to want to do is you can either use a paddle or you can use your hands, and you're going to want to fold this bread into itself about 4 to 8 times, depending on how, you know, you can form a nice ball on the other side. So we're going to give it a try here. You can flour up your hands to get it so it doesn't stick. 3, 4, I'm gonna do 5. We'll do the 8. We'll do the full 8. 7 and 8. So now you have a nice ball, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn it over onto itself on a nice piece of parchment here. So this is going to be your ball of dough. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to transfer this back into a bowl, and in this case I did use my original bowl and washed that out. And while your cast iron Dutch oven is preheating, this can go back into the bowl like so, and you can cover it again for it to get a second chance to rise. This process usually takes about 30 minutes while the Dutch oven is in the oven preheating and getting nice and toasty for our loaf of bread. Okay, now as you can see, the bread has risen again. I'll remove the covering. And it's a really nice sticky kind of dough, if you can tell from here. It's gonna have a nice lot of bubbles in there. The Dutch oven, the cast iron Dutch oven, is still in the oven at 450, heating up, preheating, and we'll transfer this into that in just a moment. However, first what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle a little bit of flour over the top, and then we're going to cut a design into the bread. Now, this is not a necessity. You don't have to do anything fancy. It's just something I like to do. I like to make some crust cuts so that when it does bake, those crusts get nice and like kind of hard and like chewy, which is also a really nice addition and makes it looks really pretty. So what I do is I take a little sieve, little flour sieve like this, and I take a bit of flour and I sprinkle it in here, and I dust the top of the bread and then shake it over the bread. So you can see it has a nice dusting of flour on the top. And then I take a razor. This is a bread cutting tool, and you can find these anywhere. Amazon has it. That's where I've gotten mine. And then what you do is you cut a pattern into the top. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be a few lines, just one cut. But in our case, let's try a little bit of some kind of fun design here. We'll cut here. And right down the middle here, we'll make that nice little cut. All right, and then we'll leave it like this. Okay. I have removed my Dutch oven from the oven. It is extremely hot. Now, keep in mind, do not touch this with your bare hands. Don't touch the lid. Don't forget, I've done that before. Remove the cover, and you will take your dough and your parchment, and you will transfer it right into this hot Dutch oven, like so. And you will replace the cover. Now, once this is covered, you return this to your oven and you keep it in the oven at 450 for 30 minutes. Okay, so now we've removed it from the oven after being in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. Now what we do is we remove the lid. Look at all that steam. And we're already getting a really nice golden color to our bread. Now what we're going to do is we're going to return the cast iron Dutch oven to the oven, and we're going to continue to keep it at 450 degrees. However, this time we will not have the lid on the bread. We will keep the lid off and we'll return it to the oven 450 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay, so we removed it from the oven after another 15 minutes in there at 450 degrees. And as you can see, it has a really nice darker brown, crusty look. You can see some of the design made from our cuts that we did in the top of the bread. And now we just get to remove it from our Dutch oven. Whoops. Here, let me get a better grip on this. It's coming apart. So we removed the bread from the Dutch oven, and of course it's still with the parchment paper. I use the non-bleached parchment paper, so it's a little more brittle, and the bread is still hot. So what we're gonna do is just remove it from the parchment paper here, and there you have it. That is a beautiful loaf of artisan bread. Now you're gonna wanna make, let this cool for about 10 minutes. Once it's cool, you can cut into it and just slice it up like you would a loaf of bread. And you can apply butter to the warm bread and have a wonderful, wonderful snack. It also looks like you've spent all day slaving in the kitchen to make this beautiful artisan bread. Just listen to that beautiful, nice, hard, crusty texture. And it's hot, but you can see how it looks, the bottom and top. So there you have it, a 4-ingredient, no-knead artisan bread that is going to be absolutely delicious.